Tashi Dilek, everyone, again. Welcome to the second session of the Shamatha Meditation teaching with Khenpo Sonam Rinpoche. Just some more announcements again. During the teaching, please remember to keep your microphones muted and your cameras off. And when it's time for questions, those who have added their questions into the chat box window with the word question in front will be called upon to unmute their microphones, turn their cameras on and ask their questions, and Ken Rinpoche will be able to answer them then. And if any non-English speaker has a question to ask, the question will be translated by one of the translators and the moderator will read it out. So please let us welcome now Ken Rinpoche. Tashi Dilek Khenpo Sonam La.
Tashi Dala. Gom den den jang ba yong lan chang za lo gong ge lo de de nian den da yi da na da ra sa ji nian den gen jie yan ze nie jie do ga le ban zhen gong da si bi zhen ra ma ri men dong do nga chi ji Lo zo gan la bu jie da zhe yan la zhu jie yang den song zhu da jie zhu nian mo ni lo le jie jia zhu zhong zi ma ri men se du nga niu gu jie nie jian de ra de ne da jin sa jin da zhen yan den le ge jia xin du yi jiu zha jiu dan jiu ni jian da le men se jiang bi yong ra du di ra ba da na de ma ra ba da na de ra ba da na de ra ba da na de ma ra ba da na de ra ba da na de ra ba da na de Marabadana de Marabadana de Marabadana de Marabadana de Seden Chechen Chera de Tali Dimo Mambarasa Ada Denje Yulo Dobai Lord Bobby Noa Zadu Ponze Tawan de Pan, Yunze Chewan de Na, Gamba Yayan Denin, Game Bayon Ton Shu. Aye, Medo, Virali, Inde Jambande, Inde Inde Boa. Doge nanda tango rena menda kuza menga samudra zabarana samaye sanje nanje zamba kan doi Ejon temon 유동 공제 당제 정오 리다 정고 장제 자다 가리 소면 각종 제제 잡에 제도 좀만 매발한 거여라도 되게 보통 그 바지메 바니 장자 이제 손조 도게 생제 단제 제제 ne zara dan ye du za jin be gon ye zu zong zhe do so kong ge jia zong da ye men mo ge zang zong ben da da ji zhen de se zhen du sa yin do ge mi ge de zhe zhu zhu yin de ma ge ni zhen yin de zong ji kong tong be ma ge be de ri da le yin zo xiong wo je zuo ni be mi dong be zhe zhe na zhu rong yin le zhe du zhe zhe de jian de zong ba be ma zhu ne da le yin zo xiong ji da ji ye de ge zi bin qian de jie guo ra ji ji lu bin zhe ma ba ce le de ge ni nian du zhe zai jie de ba me de ji yu ga lan zhe ba Nyam ba ge na be ma ji de ge ne ge we zu ge zhe yin do be ma ga bon zhe de xia le zong de dong ge zha ji yi ge me de le de qiu zuo用见我给把没给嘞，做我不知道，哎呀，的话当我们人中了就知道，就这样，根本就不。让你讲就能知道一上，我三个光给里边的，今天让你唱这个就讲，你把就自己过年吧。让上就上班家就去，工人这个人年龄变高，人家跟着改为接他做，就在这边那着。这没有在家这大爷上，现在跟着多了几次的，没有这样做多的，当然就那就那就。你们那边家这大爷上，其实就是这个小了，那这边我就小了，我帮就当啊当当。你们就讲别家就去，当家把给你吃了嘞，我们让你宝贝带去做，就全在家这好。没办法，没有这大爷像我给到了一把老巴当，都是等见没我爹的说，老巴当不是啦。我就那么那这大爷像，有的房间跟那娘那样，搞的房间跟那拉比的，在那米家那算。你路多把些话进去咯，放到手机上跟你电脑，这些老板就把公司的等的就这样的。上班的话，当今的是来给大陆的那几个，我到那边跟那当，多个就这个就当吧。他们这个都车站推就几马进多那可当年的。三件他这些单独，他都等起的话，那那把用到吧都是同时公布了不讲。我把这年的上班程序就的图写到的记得，上班那说。
Please give rise to the mind of bodhicitta, thinking that I am going to listen to this teaching for the sake of all motherly sentient beings, equal to the space, and in order for all of them to lead into the complete state of enlightenment, I am going to listen to this teaching.
刚刚说这一个缺的，他做看同学呢，以前呢，上级头发了没得没用完的。안에 나 농체 힘보 따보 아니 냐네 그 조 히네다 한통이 노니 이 히네 그림 바드레스.
And the topic of today's teaching, as mentioned yesterday, in order for us to attain the complete enlightenment state, the most indispensable thing and the essence of all the teachings of the Buddha, and is the two of the calm abiding meditation and shamatha meditation and the special insight meditation. Within these two, today's topic is about the calm abiding meditation or the shamatha meditation.
이네세와들라 가서 본도 시바나 이체는 천재단 재미기 히네니 예되고요레스.
And in this calm abiding meditation, as mentioned yesterday, we have two types here. One is with the object and the other one is the without object.
대체 나가 좋겠냐네 제디 아니 콘센트게 돈이 답변나 센제 돈이 제초고래 세메기 돈 답변나 세메기 돈 제초고레스.
And it's up to the individual, if you like to do the meditation without any object of focal object of anything for the meditation, you can do that way. Or if you like without any kind of object, you can do that way too.
다 되는 생계단 세메기 힘에 가래다고 냠슬렘 바이나야. 땅아 좋게 헌로다 머지기림바다. 아니 주 도와케림바. Tendeke eta jowa danga dan jusena mindu tendeke ta rimba somra buki yoga yores.
Doesn't matter which of the two shamatha meditation you do, but it must have three portions, three sections while you're doing this meditation. The first one is the preliminary or the opening, and the second is the actual meditation, and the third one is the conclusion. These three sections is a must to do or either of the two meditations.
다 가상 가족의 시당게 신에게 평양다 신에게 뭐다 아니 지pon자다 난 년보 그림바다고 근데체네 제용게 못하다고 제발했어.
Yesterday, we went briefly in general about what shamatha meditation is and the benefits of doing this shamatha meditation, and while doing it, what kind of things to be adopted and what things to be avoided. These things we went through in a general way.
드링 가족의 근데게 시시 그림바다고 마인바 니마 레레레레 라당 가족의 신에게 냠내데 지디가솔레 고 간데 주고야 봐 아니 뭐기 값을 간데 제고야 봐 뉴 간데 좀 그거야 봐 근데게 돈이 쉬야게 타게 당야 있어.
And today in this session, I'm not going into the general in a general way, but more in specific how if we have to do this shamatha meditation in a session, how to start this session and how to do it in the actual meditation and the conclusion part.
대 간이 있으니 시바이나 맞아 신의 검도여 봐다 신의 냠내 제댕에다 근데 그 신의 레트로와 영의 망부지 아니 즉 신의 검탕한테 고 간데 주고요 봐 뭐이 값을 가르쳐 그거야 봐 아니 다도도 가르쳐 그거야 봐 아니 세보지 마주바 제네 아니 가서 그랬다 지그 신의 기 칼라나 뭐 용수 많송 받던데 그 돈이 내가 저 직접 토란도 대한테 뭐 보는 거였어.
Because there are many people who wants to do this meditation or who are doing this meditation or who are interested in doing this shamatha meditation, but doesn't know really or haven't received any instructions about how to do this and how to start it in the beginning and how to do it in the actual meditation session and how to conclude this meditation. And in this way, not knowing exactly how to do it, they waste a lot of time.
지디 가서 맞게 신의대 검바 제발라 신의 검탕고 주동 무슨 냠슬랜동 아니 유도동 때 세보 하고 있기 돈이 냐네 제야 되는데 하장 근데 켐보레스.
So it's a crucial point in order to know very clearly, in doing this shamatha meditation, how you proceed it, how do you begin in the beginning session and the actual session of the meditation itself and the conclusion part, concluding the meditation session.
가르스나 신의 코롱게 맹아트서 노노라 신의 기야라데서 야포기 마찬나 감탄데 야포기 마헤나 아니 로잠베나냐 준비한다고 유명해왔지 근데 숨겨res.
Because in the instructions of the shamatha meditation in the text, it mentioned that if you don't know really these preliminary things or the limbs of this meditation, how to do this meditation, how to conclude this meditation, these kind of things, then even if you do it for hundreds of years, still you may not really get the result of the meditation.
더 댐비 그 돈에 제로 재당되는데 그 돈을 제거해야 되는 거레스.
So it's a very crucial point, first of all, to understand how to do this meditation.
사태제디 가서 동보 당아저께 신의 공행게 리틀라야 다 니다보지 산노 동고 그레스. 가르스나 신의랑 냠술래니 그 뒤쪽에 뒤토라 차상 동 통행 지다 야 지금 가서 남중게 니리긴 초하게 내가 차송체 샤르도다 간투도 지냐네 쟁이 되는 사람도 공사 니다보지 용기요레스.
So generally talking about the people who does the meditation of the shamatha, we can broadly categorize them into two categories. One who can devote full time in doing this shamatha meditation while engaging into this meditation for the whole time, full time. The other one is, you're doing it part-time. You have your own job and other things to do, but trying to incorporate in your daily lives by spending few minutes into this meditation.
Shine gomne shine la ticho chatan tong tungne ki bayina ta tila shine ke gomya ke handu ke rimba chachan chong ga ya na bo chitang ki yung te sono na pe ma se mambo ji she yores.
And if you are doing it in the full time, spending all your time into doing this meditation, then in the text there are many different explanations about the preliminaries of doing and how to do this meditation.
Tichidika sula ta ko ticho chatan de shine gomya la tona ke thoni ticho che dengen da yin bayina ane tendeki 자신 몸보진 총과야 옆이 놓으니 개체휴러버데 갈차고서나 수점 넘버 다 봤다 직 너발라 니미도 따니 아니 팀비요라 네바세야 다 됐음보데 내가 차디요레스.
And if somebody is investing your full time in doing this meditation, there are many conditions to be met, or there are many preliminary things that you have to do. But amongst these all different types of preliminaries or the conditions, the most important things that you mention is, first thing is you should have, abide by the moral ethics, the morality ethics, And second one is, you have to see that all these desirous things are something bad, something to be abandoned. And the third one is to live in a conducive place, a conducive environment.
tendeki 자신한테서 손비기 토네 아니 히네라 전다 제거요레스.
And with these things present, and then you should engage into actual the meditation of this shamatha.
다 라주이나 소타게 동바 다반다보다 아니 지침바 보모이나 장주 생글 동바 다야나보다 인스턴 다바사야 되는데 지라 세거요레스 네발라 니미타 세거리카솔라 내양 그 롱셔트 조라 아니 현자 첨모 많이 봐 되조라 메다바다 아니 진님보 매바 되니까 다위게 토니 되조라 현자 충으로 동야나 팀비요라 네바 세거리카솔라 세다 그저조 아니 녀야를 하본다보다 자다 젠젠라서 네바 매바 아니 소소고로 과이나야 따와다 저바도 틴딩에 니모라 미초모고 메사 세모라 지 게초라서 바드니 몽포 메사 어텐데 게네라 소와지가야 어때서데 게제시고요레서.
So these three important things, as mentioned earlier, the first thing is to have a moral ethics, So if you are a monk or a nun, then you should have received this individual liberation vows and to maintain that vow. And if you are a lay person, that you should receive like a bodhisattva vow and to abide by it, to maintain that vows. And the second one saying, to view all these desirous things as something bad or to abandon it. That means you should not be too much attached towards these sensual objects and to view that as impermanent and something that is without any kind of essence. And the third one, to live in a conducive place, is some place where you can easily find your food and clothing and shelter, and where there isn't any kind of enemies or there isn't any kind of dangers from the wild animals. And if you have a friend to doing this together, you should have a friend or doing this meditation who has the same view and same conduct as yourself. And that place should not be too much crowded during the daytime, or during the nighttime should not be too much loud, the sound pollution kind of thing, So these are the preliminaries, preliminary requirements if you are doing this Shamatha meditation as a full-time meditator.
The rope something as a human of jeans. That the naked teacher Chasanji in La Tomato, and as a needy control, go lay down so much doing sure to that he go things that will come at you, young and yes, to check a chick now the naked needed go he need la Soviak and the Bayon and the Vagina. So the Karayango Sena. Karsegore ndaba chungwa ta chosheba sebi pa so ne hachang ke ta nga zo sidang ke ko nga zo ke sosu kim che ye ge de pa so la ane chi data tibi ke chachen che go yores.
So that was just a gist of the requirements of a meditator as a full time. But if most of us who cannot spend our whole time as a meditator in the Shamatha meditation, but who is just spending a little bit amount of time, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or an hour daily into this meditation while doing our regular chores, daily chores. So for those person, the thing is, there are two main things. The first thing is, to have very less requirements and so have and to be easily satisfied.
Ani ko rewa jadda mai batla ndapa chuas chu heba se dikaso kan yeba tike ni ko jiwatsi de atela ani chu hebas.
So to having a less requirement is kind of, whatever, not requiring, too many things for yourself, that kind of thing. And second one is the contentment. Contentment means whatever you have, to be content with whatever you have.
Tatinani cheni ne gomjadi kasola soso desate teze saja 신자보야사 신자키도 메사 ane tenangi cheni ane soso ke desa ki saja tilaya ane chi chadangda kareyinaya debo lute debo yonsa tene chi guyores.
And the place where you do this meditation should be a quiet place where there's no hustle and bustle, and where the temperature is, not extreme, like too hot or too cold, and where you feel very pleasant physically, to be very pleasant to be at, that kind of a place is required.
제디가스로 저런 게 되게 까망아마도 제기면은 큐마도 제기면은 데사테 소데 그 데보다 야보 아니 나고 zubote 데보체니 아니 데사치 체크해야 돼 개념부지레스.
So even if you are meditating just for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but it's very important to have the place where you sit to be very comfortable, and very comfortable to be, wherever you sit at, that kind of thing is required. It's important.
근데 검제야 그 뒤쳐다보 있나야 주나 아니 효케다고 되니지라 아니 그 뒤쳐 가서 동토바 있는 제토나 야고 열레스.
As for the timing, it is very good if you can do it in the early morning. So if you can spend as much as time you can in the morning itself, that is very good.
가인세나다 gondarabu jeba ina ni 강아들 밀파케제 해요 춘년조 삼노단조 직 대화존조 직 남도 뭐뭐 니 강라 샘트 투차디 가솔레 gondala dik 후젠라고 지 탭제네 샘을 흘러 봐야 돼. this 카부여레스.
Because if you do it in the evening and night session, throughout the days, you have been engaging with other people, doing a lot of things, thinking of a lot of things. And because of that, those things, that you did throughout the day, it affects you in the evening while you're doing that meditation. And it's harder for you to have your mind, to be at peace, to quiet down and to be at peace.
쇼케 카르세나 카창라보텔라 밀모볼지는 데바조 남토모고지 쪼여르데 니쿠야조 테케 셈바데 테츠 남토케 반창라보지 체체네 니야 세고데 가슬레 남토 테츠 랑잉코 마 르라파체네 뉴르로야레스.
But in the morning, although in previous day you might have engaged with lots of other peoples and thinking a lot of things, but in between you took a nap, you slept, right? So that slept, the sleeping session, that quietens your mind, and your mind is much more quiet at the morning and in much more at a relaxed state.
이 좀 센터에서 니바텔라 쇼케라 검잔데 셈바데 르르 밤네 테츠치케 남토데 뉴르 똥어야지 제바이나 니 되게 휴전되게 니 강라 저런 그 셈바 만투발 고 셔보지 용야라 펜토야레스.
And also another important thing is, if you do the meditation in the morning with very much relaxed mind, then that will affect throughout your day, and it will help you to have your mind much more at ease and at a relaxed state.
가르인세나 네데 벤나가서 쇼케나부지래 저반다지쇼 컨트롤아부지 홍소나 니 강라 되게 휴전아부지 그 셈바 마치와 용다이 용도 와서 어때도 찍어나버렸어.
It's, for example, if you had a bad morning, like you argued with somebody you have, so if that happens in the morning, throughout the day, that affects you, and your mind won't be, as good as it used to be in other days, in the same thing, if you have meditation, a relaxed mind in the morning, that will affect throughout the days as well.
어때지 가서래 대처대 효케나부지 주나 야보레스 때마주나 네 가디나야 고 냠내 제 초바르마도 대전들이지마도 제 초마를 세라부터니 개요 말레스.
So that's why if you can, then it's the best to do the meditation in the morning itself. Otherwise, if you cannot do it in the morning, then there isn't any restriction that you cannot do this in other times. You can do it at any time.
내가 지테레스 내가 님바텔라 아니 저렇게 검 가디 제바이나 다가스 땅에 검적이 있어야라고 직 선으로 가야마도 많이 봐. 드링에 검 까망가 제기 교적이 경아 제기 주저체가 제기 그 검제야티 아니 내 셈바데 고 노정지 체네 아니 고아 나초냐래 탈치바 제비게 토네 네 다투그 손제지 공부 먼저 제네 네 마준 남긴 타다니베 생제 탄제게 단다지게 루토바 지기 냠비게 네 정주 셈그 그롱데베 마시 개점부지레스.
And while you're doing this meditation, whether you do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or half an hour, whatever the time length that you are doing, not just don't do it that I'm just doing it and just sit there and do the meditation, It's very important to think about it, and with the mind of the bodhicitta to generate this mind of bodhicitta, thinking that I am going to do this meditation in order to tame my mind, in order to control my mind, so that I can attain the enlightenment, state of enlightenment, and through that way I will be able to do the benefits of all the sentient beings equal to the space. So thinking of this way through this bodhicitta is very important.
이제 가서 다 가서 추든 소마도 요마르 디노노랑 가서 고투도네 타도동 거 받을 고 림바림바체네 가서 그 간델세는 고주고 그래 간젤세는 유 뭐이 갈로고 그래 간젤세는 타도고 세네 고 레레체네 마 주야게 타케나 동웨르 티치디 가서래 고 시네된 고주디 가서래 샘다 류니 옆에는 샘게 다리다고 가르치고서 디톨은 아주 쉬고요레스.
So we only have 3 sessions, including this one. So in this one, I'm trying to go through all the preliminaries and the actual of the meditation of the shamatha step by step. So here what I'm trying to do is, when you start the meditation, there's a preparation for the physical and the mental preparations. So I'm talking here about the mental preparation, how to do this meditation. When you are engaging into this meditation, what kind of mental preparations to do? It is said that all the phenomena are conditional and it depends on your aspiration. So that's why according to the Buddhism, whether a particular practice or particular thing that you're doing, whether it will be according to the Dharma or not, it all depends on your motivation. So that's why it's very important to have this motivation, to modify this, to prepare this motivation, thinking that, I am going to do this, not just for my own thing, but for the sake of all living beings. So this is very important, and you should not forget to do this.
Luke don't kind of check over Sena. Then Nanon Chudin Sake, Luke, you don't check over this.
And the preparation for the physical is the postures, 7 postures, Varochana. You have to prepare through that way.
But they don't do on the Sanjay number Nanzi, you don't care. And Chudin, Chechudin sandwich, the Nichika the Higor, then on the Tambotala and a company. Doji Chitung to Java. Yomana, Doji Chitu to Jaya, complete double Mevata, Chamatoba Dabaina, and Chetung, Doji Chetungs and the combat Kiki Yard, Kitamati Slavado. But the Niketa, Juna Doji Chitung, Madonna, Doji Chetung Dabatele, Digo Ores.
And this is called the 7 postures of the Buddha Vairocana. And first thing is, your 2 feet, they should be in the Vajra position, to one on top of the other. If for whatever reason you cannot do it that way, you can do it in the half posture of that thing, which is one on top and other is a little bit, relaxed, stretched, a little bit stretched out. So that is the first thing.
That take Doji Chitun Jaya take Gubanabu, Johnson of Carresana, Nato Lutela, Lung Rimindava, Nayores, Lake Lung.
The reason why we have to cross posture, is our body has 5 different kinds of the wind or the karmic wind within us.
Then only that Nasoke Lung Chitin to say Lung said the castle and Nasoke, no Mashonga that Kiwa Lasso, but Neman Doriala, and Nicolega Chedenge, Lung Rikia de Gores.
And one of the is downward wind. That wind pushes out all those urine or excreta that doesn't need our body, that goes out. That wind helps to push that out. That's the downward wind.
Because Lake Lung Apo Tiki Chene, Azok Cherokan Hoa Nanto, Madabikin Hoa Tap, Jitizokan Hoyachi, Chigger, Tichicas Lake Lung Apo de. Tangazuke Zatela Zauma, Roma Chamas, Zasun Benoni, Lake Lunton Soma, Zauma non le Tansuna, Ani Yehik Lunkung Royagri, Yehik Lunkung Rosana, take a top chin Hoya being Hoa Tanjim, Tabakuta Yehik Bashing None, and the Koya Sonja Combola Dea, Tendik Kajahigores.
And it is said that, these 5 karmic winds, because of these karmic winds, we are perceiving or seeing all these impure things in this world. And these karmic winds, within these channels within us. And if we're able to channel those things, those karmic winds into our central channel, then that karmic wind transforms into the wisdom wind. And through that wisdom, we're able to see all in a pure forms.
Madapa lake loon take tobla tita ni ngazoke semi body ni ko nyamto juguyores ani yehik loon teta tapa yehik ni body nyamto juguyores tichidika so ngazoke madapi lake loon te chao manola temtuna na luke ni kimbiton temsona ani ko madapi lake loon te son soma tapa ke yehik lungo ndone yehik lungo tan revi ke ani 내가 탐지 때 아니 yehik rangi changro writne ko madapi ke noa thamki numne ani ko taban ba ki ngolan roa tene chi chago yares e jumsana tene ani thuse ki lunde umala jimbi ki chedola ani ko ma doji jirun jaya tene chi res.
This impure karmic winds and our mind, those two go together, while the pure wisdom wind and the wisdom, those go together. So when these impure karmic winds, when we able to send those things or channel those things into our central channel, then those impure winds transform into the wisdom. And once it's transformed into the wisdom, and because of that wisdom, everything we see it in a wisdom and nothing but wisdom, only wisdom in a pure way, we're able to see it. That's why the cross-legged, sitting in this cross-legged posture, that helps to channel those downward moving wind into our central channel.
아니 Nyima tela karasana la nyamja to yabas lagwa nige deni nyamja chene ne ko teo la nyamja chene neba dike ane jumsanda bote karasana menyamse lake lu menyamse ate ngachoke lula ane toya shewa chibiki luntela menyamse gyorese ngachoke lula toya deate lunte ki chegyorese chile tene yodenge tek lunte ane zaumane chube chetola
And the second one of the 7 postures of Vairocana is to have our hands in the meditation posture, and that helps among the 5 karmic winds, the fire wind, helps that to channel that fire into the central channel.
And sombatela gatsi Khenpo 동제 집안나 이제네 개바기 개용게 시대야 강보진이야 류트 강보진이야 상고요레스 다디가 가르스나 손지게 룬데 우말라 트라이기 체도라 다 손지게 룬세야 된가서 소와 제바게 소 맞죠 그 류라 소다 만다바진의 소데 이어바치비게 아니 그 젤레겐데게 룬데 우말라 중야게 체도라 같이
And the third one is, you have to have a straight back. The spine should be very straight. And by doing this, it helps us to have the life force wind. Among the 5 karmic winds, we have the life force wind. That wind helps us to be alive. When we are alive, we have this helps us, this wind helps us to be there. And by having our back spine straight helps us to channel that life force wind into the central channel.
Tene yiba dela ndeba tunza makuwa se because ndema tet magugu da yiba tene chichen de gures static karche gorsena chenjuk lunse de ka ngazo kanane kad nan ni jude lungte ote zauma no la chimbeki chedola tene gures.
And the 4th one is, our head and neck slightly lowered forward. And by doing this, it helps us to the upward moving winds. That is the wind that we breathe through our mouth or nose, and that help us to channel that wind into our central channel.
아니 뿜바님보다 내스는 파 테카르시는 존에 그 토멘다 버레데바 많이 봐 총벌 야바데게 아니 가족 그 류라 잡지 그 룽세네 zupote runroba mahimba nga shiro di ka so ni kamang chuzo ji ni yana roya de yuoro nga zo sen yibe ka so la roya mara de mro a chibi ke lungte umala tube chedola onteni chego wores.
And the fifth one is our shoulders should be spread out, and it should be at the equal height. Not one is lower, the other is higher. Not like that. So it should be the spread out shoulder. With this one, it helps that the wind, the all-pervading wind. That all-pervading wind helps us to be in a kind of fresh, our body to be fresh. When we die, that we don't have that all-pervading wind anymore, so that's why our bodies are rotten and it smells those things. So it by having this shoulder broad spread out, it helps to channel that all-pervading wind into our central channel.
아니 카히기 배자 카히 노라 미나제 팝스니 미나나나게 제네파 소리에 자야살마 카투 마타야 데지레스 데지디 가서 카히게 데제와데 잡제 글로 많은 유바이게 그바히바 데니어스.
In some texts, it says that the next one, which is eyes gazing on tip of your nose in the front there, by doing this, it helps us to this all-pervading wind to send that into our central channel.
아니 dimbatela 제데 야켄라야 자르네 아니 소데 네 큐라 마투 잠지게 토네 아니 룽 가서 그 우데네 파초 동디 가서래 아니 동야 하마고와 같이 있는 다보 제네 아니 당고 그랬어.
And the seventh one is our mouth should be slightly open, like the two upper and lower teeth is not really touching, is slightly open, and our tongue should be touching the upper palate. And through that one, we're breathing in a very relaxed state, so that we really feel like we're breathing. It should be like that way.
That is because tendrike namnonke chu dinte ane yapochine sosoke kan tudo ke sosoke zupola tebeki tone cheta demba yunala medan chego ures.
And these are the 7 postures of Vairocana, and you should try as best as you can according to your own physical physical things, to sit like these 7 postures of the Vairocana.
The karesana and the unit non karsona teta lutrombe zatrombe luntrombe chanchu centron then the lilanto the toba sanan charosene the nisunguyores the karsegorsana 나도 그 류데 트람포체네 아니 그 소수게 장코르게 내단다 템바체네 데소마이나 아니 짜데 아니 동보체네 차고여레스.
The thing is, by doing these things, in the 7 postures of Vairocana, is it is said that if your bodies are straight and according to the channels of your body, if you sit that way, so then it helps us to have our channels also straightened up.
그치 because 짜데 동보 같이 진의 중소마이나 아니 데노라 짜노노라 아니 룽데 주고여레스 단다 건데 해봤나이지 룽아부터 주고여레스 룽데다 냠돌라 아니 나저게 샘데 주고여레스 대치디 가슬레 류데 동보초나 짜데 동보 차고여레 짜데 동보 차나 데노르 주위게 룽데 동보치네 차고여레 룽데 동보치네 콜 흘러지네 주투웨이나 데다 냠돌라 아니 카르세고 주위게 나저게 샘데 아니 흘러 파와 데니 용고여레스.
So in that way, if your body is channels are straightened up, as mentioned earlier, all those karmic winds flows through our channels. So there's those will be also able to flow without any obstruction, without any hindrances, if that our channels are straightened. And with that wind, karmic wind, our minds also, goes through or flows with that karmic wind. So our winds flow easily without any obstructions. Then our minds are also, flows together with that thing without kind of obstruction, kind of.
Zada lungda chanjuk samsananda nga zok samsung bote rotan de tende yimbate anen do no la tende kip sabo hegyo marde inaya ka no la pe masik kip sabo chine de hejavores.
And these movements of our body, and then through that in the body, the channels, and with the channel, the wind, and with the wind, our mind, those going through, it's mentioned both in Sutra and Tantras, but although in Tantras, it explains much more detail, while it in the Sutra is just mentions about it and not much in detail.
Techidi kasola ane nga zoke ngates no la de hejavonde kasola. Zate ane nga zoke yuwa nabo bike so nabo. Tenola ane judenge lungde ta tenola juwe ke chudawa ina karena tenabo. Ten tedan devi ke ne samte de judewate ane karsekore. Ta tenola chik ndawa jo ke chutedan chusena lungsena ta teninyandre judea. What tendeke ko zada lungda chanchu ke samsena inda samsung bote tendeke ndawa yovachi kide hegores.
So in the Tantra text, it's mentioned that our channel is just like the pipe, and the wind that flows in the channel is like the water or whatever, oil, whatever is flowing in that pipe. It's just like that. And the mind is also flowing or going through with that wind.
Tena yichine nga zoke zanola judenge ke lungteda samtem nibote pe masikin ndawa shuchambo yores. Karsana peyante no pe yagu de kasole samba de ane me kamba me denye dawo. Ane lungde ane ta dawo. Techidi kasole me kamba me yoke ta hyendeba na yichine nga zoke samba de ane
and it's mentioned the tantric text that this karmic wind and the mind is very much related with each other. In fact, this mind is analogous to a person without kind of feet. Without kind of feet means a person without can walk, right? But then this wind, the karmic wind, is just like a mount, is like a horse. So this person moves through this thing with the help of the mount, which is the horse, right? So it's just like that, our mind flows with the help of the wind. And this is not just mentioned in the text. We can also experience it through our own experience in our day-to-day life.
The new years Carsena, they go sem de da loon, the yam the Jewish Johnson, and the sem de la, and enjoy it with the teak, shooting loon and enjoy it.
Because when you're very much scared, or when you're too much angered, then at that time your breathing also changes. You breathe more faster than normal. That shows that the mind is related with this wind. Whenever there's some changes to your mind, it changes your breathing, the wind too.
Then I each in the Matsuku Zupo de Jobo Cha. Ani Tenedabo Cha with the Casoles. Lino Lunten the Apo Jum de Castle, take a huge and tetchene, the Samba Kibomanjo, Nikumatoya, ane sembala ane karsa machipa yunya tene ko yon semba na to meaning tene yuya reste lung kitop je yon semba tin jwa tene sang res.
And in the same way, if your body is very weak, you feel sickness, or your body is very weak, then that kind of hinders to flow properly the wind within you, and that also then affects your sleeping, and you also doesn't feel too good. Mentally also it disturbs you. So because it shows that this relation between this wind and the mind is very close relation.
Nga zo peba ke men no la tik nu kna za se ne na za be de la pen da te zo shibja shiu shi ge re si na ya nga zo ke chilu se ge ma re na ju men kong de zo no la fu jang da ba de ni da che ge to la ti na za de ngo zo da ba ji sha me wan da ba ji ko song se kan de na te chi di kan da ya ne nga zo lu zu bo jo bo cha ne nu te zo da da de me gong de ko so ne sem ba tu che ni ma ko ya da de sem ba ma chi ba da ya ji na sem ba da da me wa de ni chan da ya no boy wears.
In the Tibetan medicine, it mentions that these kind of disease or sickness is caused by this wind, imbalance of this wind. And I have heard that modern medicine practitioners, they may not have exact cure or exact pinpointing of this kind of diseases, but anyway, in this Tibetan medicine, they have this imbalance of this wind, and which affects your mental health too.
Tak nge tanda te kari xeegers na nga tso ku luk te yudang tende de tse da denpa katse yungpa ina dek to ne tsa tende de tangpo chi ne rogo res. Tsa de tangpo je tsamchi ne toba de tsamchi dena juwi ku nung te lele pa uya res. Nung te lele chi ne juwa res. Nung te lele je tsa juwa de tsamchi senpa nampo de ne lele pa me nyuru kas dal tumbo wa o tende chi chago res. De chi di ngom jebi ku de che de la ya un jungum che ya te tsa ya katse ina lebo.
So what I'm trying to say here is, there's a physical posture is important here. So when you have your physical posture, your body in a very straightened and that helps to have all your channels also straightened up. And with that channel helps to flow of the karmic wind within that channel, unhindered, flows nice. In that way, it is very relaxed movement inside. With that relaxed movement, our mind is also much relaxed. All the conceptual thoughts and all the minds also very relaxed. So that's why while you're doing this meditation, is important when you're breathing. You breathe it at a very relaxed state.
Tende lulan de be toba sanga chase de kaso luki ne de jine yutan de tada chego de kaso la ane tsada lung de so tone sem de ran yin ke ko ji lula pa ne ane hine ke tola ko ne to ya yung ya ndo de yeres.
That's why it is mentioned that when you have the all the dependent origination is present within our physical, it helps us to have the realization in the mind much more easier.
Tati de kaso la ngazo hako be chi de karres na ngazo ke tsa de la ya da da ma da ni lung de la ya da da ma da ni ane senda ye he se ne ko ngazo sari ki cha de la ya da ba da ma da ba ni de ya ba hako go res ti chi de ngazo ka lu ki tsa de tong de kaso ma da be ki tsa de tong de kaso la ane teno la jui ke ma da be ke lung de ane umano la chia mada pe lu de umano chu de kaso tetan rewi ke ane ngazo ke le lu de umano chu de kaso le ane tetan rewi ke namto de ane ko pa ta ro ya de na yin chen de de ke za mada pe za da mada pe lu da ane namto sambo de pa je cham che darin yin do tetan ko ji ke parse porta ko jin thona ki maya ndrawa na yi chene ane taba ke tsada 답이기 롱다 답이기 샘선함도 예해대 좀 먼저 전에 내가 저게 지로근 화단계야 근데 라니기고 답이고 뭐는 줄어야 뭐다 되게고 내가 지어대 그랬어.
And it's also important to know that, this channel, wind and mind, there are two in each of these things, within the channels, there are the impure channels and the pure channels. And within the wind too, there are impure wind and pure wind. And the mind also, just impure, the ordinary mind, and the wisdom, pure wisdom mind. So as we mentioned earlier, when we doing this meditation, sitting in that posture, that posture helps us to channel those impure winds, impure karmic winds into our central channel. Once that has been, directed into the central channel, that helps to transform those impure winds into a pure wind. So, the impure becomes pure wind. So as we do this more and more, that impurities will become pure, more and more pure. So like, once you have this, when one is higher, the opposite will go lower, in the same way here, once you're doing this more and more, the purity parts will be becoming more and more, and the impurity will become less and less. And that way it helps you to become and to perceive all as in the pure form.
대치디 가서래 아주 가디나 리드 야부지 상네 간 투투지 데이터야 돼 매체 전부 개첨버레스 양 같이 주부 대보 매야라보다 아니 지 남지 검찰이 돈 짠이 데마도 한다보이나 하정 그때니 우주 접체라나 아니 샘바데 가디나야 지게 누단테 마데와 테크 토라 쇼데야레 마도 미발라 테메도 유레 대치디 오늘 간 데데나부지 데야레스.
So that's why it's very important if you can, to sit in these postures, as mentioned earlier, as much as possible, to sit in that one while doing the meditation. But for whatever reason, if your body is not able to sit in that way, or if you are too much used to the opposite way of sitting or the normal, other way of sitting it, and it feels very difficult for you to do it as mentioned here in the 7 postures, then you should try, your best. You should not be too hard in this one, because if you do it too hard, then you feel uncomfortable. And while doing your meditation, your mind will be instead directed towards that uncomfortableness and not towards the meditation.
Sembate ko mibala tesala matewa chene kadina tilsano shoda chi chagres teje de levo chene ko zobo de debo chega de kechemores.
So that's why it's important to you have a very comfortable state of physical body. Otherwise, as mentioned earlier, your mind cannot focus on the object of meditation. Instead, it will go towards that uncomfortable part of the body.
Tene da gommoso da tende ke lui da sennibo ni ke tandi tende yobi tone ane ngoso shineke gomte machampe huntola ane choronke soso ke nyamlen ke remba da bo tende ke lamala so atabiare ngondo ke remba da bo re tende ke ji tito da papi ke ane ji ke dabachi nanchene apoyeres.
So with this kind of preparation, both physical and mental, physical is through that 7 posture, mental is generating the bodhicitta. And just before you start the actual meditation session, it's important to do some kind of supplication prayer to your Lama, or doing some prayer or the preliminary practices and something like that, according to your time, the length should be according to the time that you have.
Kare sena ko gomje seya de dende ngazu zupo de ko karse gorate namno chedi kaya na marese semba de ko namchi ngazu ke gomaje bikalo namto ra ke ngaro to chotu matore mato namto 깨지자야 마데바 아니 남토 그 이거 되고요레스 대치디 가서래 딩을라네 라마라 소야다야 손뎀다야 라보다 징은도 그러바다본다야 데민다바다보 티치 체네 셈바데 티치마 레스로완다보 르르 바야게 타케지 땅야 체도라 다디 체야게 체도라 아니 데네치 체나 고 차소야 데네 여레라 데네 체나 아니 고건 ngös jungle because laya ani yapo yuna pento yores.
And because this is a tradition too, to do these prayers on preliminary, and also, it is a preparation to the actual practice of the meditation, because the actual meditation is not just sitting straight up and your physical body alone, that's not the full meditation. Your meditation should be more of the mental state, and whether you realize or not, during the ordinary times, during the normal times, our mind never even stays at constant even for a second. It always moves, always flickering and moving around. So to do this meditation, so before we do that, doing the supplication for the Lama, or doing the Ngundro preliminary prayers on those things, helps us to quieten our mind, to relax our mind and channel it towards that focal object.
아니 지게 류다 샘 장주슨 샘시 대기 제설로 도바마뉴로 지도라 라마라 소아타야다 만도 그림바다고 텐데게 고치던나 템비케 토네 데스 티처다 팀비토네인데 제 되네 고 디엔초라고 돼서데 타고 글쎄 그래 고무에서 제약게 만도 그림바다고 텐데지 용고거레스.
And these are the preliminaries of the actual practice of the meditation, of the Shamatha meditation. So sitting in these 7 postures, doing this, generating the bodhicitta, and trying to relax our mind, and then doing the supplication prayer to the Lama, and doing some Ngunto prayers, preliminary prayers. These preliminary, before the actual session of the Shamatha meditation.
That's a mare. They tone Tangazuki Hine Gusu Goma de Carsegrana. And the Senantuk Tony Yodeng Tele, so here Jene, and then Miba Gairo Gila, and then got Sekito Jene Yatua Chevatela, Hine Gom Sene. starting as Senjek Tonica Jena, Senjek, Semi-Hinino, Senjek Gombe on the Tona, the Nikila, and Gomers Navaji, Hagueres.
The actual meditation, as mentioned earlier, is, not to have or to specify all these kind of conceptual thoughts, and to direct our mind to a particular objects. And one pointedly on that object, meditating that way, this is the meditation of the shamatha with an object.
Tila, Tangazo Tantaki Kejaheda, Tangazo Nonche and Day to the Shinegom Ko Lane de Kejahegore, Tichi Gasola, Chita, Shineke, Mitian de Karshana and Diva Inaya, Nonche and Day to the Shineke Yamle de Chedi Gasola, and then ko Laco Krimban, Lamipate and Avoda, and then Hawkrim Oma Lasso, but then Hala Mipate and Avoda. Then I get 2 chances, Sui into the 2 chances, or Tendeketa, good Lago Sui into 2 chances, Tendeke, Rebatizola Mipatena, and then non chicken Yaneta, Shineni got Yam to Jenny, and they go Beate, you wear.
Although, as mentioned yesterday, that you can have this shamatha meditation without being a Buddhist, in a secular way. If you're doing that way, you can have the object of meditation, anything. But as we are talking about this Buddhist Shamatha meditation, then while doing this as a Buddhist meditation, then the object of our meditation should be either an enlightened body or enlightened speech or enlightened mind. For the enlightened body, we have these deities, whether that be a statue or a painting of a deity, Buddha or any kind of a bodhisattva, any kind of deity. And if we are having enlightened speech as our object, then like a mantra, ahong, you can focus on those things. And if you're having an enlightened mind as a object of meditation, then the emblem of any like vajra or any of something like that can be the object of your meditation.
Tinayi sosok dan gurumbo chenda botan da doma da bota sosok khande da bojila demba da meba yeba inaya tinichi damna tigores cheba yomares khande ju injimi ne ingor se ake yomares.
As for the enlightened body, you can choose anything, like the deities, or a Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, or your own root guru, or a Guru Rinpoche statue, or a Tara statue. It's up to you, whichever feels comfortable, and you can choose that way.
Tate tombo te ko ngaso ke tiku da boji dama inaya tiku kaso ko chanlebo. 아니 yenku ina yenku cholembuchi damchene tatile jebo mombo majaba chene tati karsana shine mibala tseji to senna to yowale chu shine mibala tseji to nebatela 아니 가르기 제거 오르스나 템바다 희기니 게 제거 오르 대신에 가sul mibala tseji to 아니 대바 제발라 템베 존에 되고 오르 대신에 가sul 템바 제발라 딜롱을 야분 차트고 티치디 가서 딜라 야분 진리토고 그래서.
So if you're doing it, either a painting of those deities, or a statue of this deity, if you're doing, first have to have a very good painting by a good artist, or a sculptor, or a statue, made by a good artist, And the thing is, especially for the beginner, you should not change that object of meditation frequently. You should use that for a long time, same object for a longer period of time. So thing is, when you're doing this meditation, you should try to, avoid all other kinds of conceptual thoughts and focus that mind one-pointedly towards that object. And to have that one-pointedly, to maintain that, it should be done through the help of mindfulness and introspection. And to have the mindfulness, first you have to familiar with that statue or with that Buddha painting or whatever your focal point is. You have to know that clearly, very good. And then you can have that memory of that one, which is called mindfulness.
Semipala tseki to tene ane ko jinshongen ke temba tela ane temba cheche stom da temba imbachi gogo yabachi ane ngamba thome ke tene ngamba continue la sunyores temba kanhena dipingo pola senchi jepa mepa te number yemi lekeno sene tene ke temba cheche stom denji gogo yabasunyores.
And to have this mindfulness, it is said by the Asanga in the Abhidharma Samudaya. He said that, this mindfulness should be of 3 points, threefold meaning should be here in this mindfulness,
That's something that best take you. Then the noni tambo de carasana. Deeping Pola said the castle so condio de gitch. Condio batis, tombo ingo whereas.
The first of the threefold is the first thing is you should have familiar with that object.
Tan deeping up said the castle cati in and ta chen, the soso go lolly chayala taco, take stable in chatoya. Yomana Lama witching the hit judge go so lolly chatoya. When I took a chick so lolly lamsanji shagon, so the tabarish in diding. 파만다보다 벤자다보다 용의 프로보다 대소들 롤 스타부치니 샤투 체그라 뭐 때나 이제는 이유를 뭐지라 소소단 디보존에 가디는 통대야 리데야나고 근데지키 다지 고 검리족에 개념을했어.
So first, that thing is, it's very important for you to make it very familiar with that object, whatever that object your meditation is. When you're very much familiar with that thing, then it easily, pops up in your mind, just like, very familiar to you, like your own parents, your relatives, or your friends. When you deal with them every day in a day-to-day basis, you can have that face of that person easily in your mind, or something that has been explained to you again and again, by your teacher or something like that. So then that, whatever that explanation is, it right away pops up in your mind. So that is what we call here, a very familiar object.
다 근데게 디피고 뭐 빼나 담박 꾸나고 디꾸다고 이나 가서 빠다고 이나 파티랑 피셔던체네 다 딜라 안에 디빙고 버티니 찌라 미바데 테고요레스.
So you should focus your mind towards an object which is very much familiar to you, whether that is like, for example, it's a picture of a Buddha or statue. You should use that picture, same picture. So first you look at that picture again and again to be very familiar with that one, and then use that as your object of meditation.
안에 샘치 제바메 바세 우리 가서래. 다 근데게 미텐데 마제바 제네 다 진종야는 배찬제고 그래서 마제바지 근데 그 템바티게 마제바 제네 아니 고 미바텔라 고 샘테 토와지 니바텔라 템바티게 다티 마제바.
And second one is not forgetting that one. So not forgetting that familiar object. So with that your focal point, to that one point at that thing, and with the help of mindfulness, you should not forget this image or whatever that your object meditation is.
다 마제바 세그디 가서래 라만다버치다 용나 로판다버치게 티칸데 요르스 깨자티고디 가서래 마제바 데히자 토ян다버트 깨자히고요 말스. 데코 가서 샘데 템바티 단 레비토니 미바티 라고 진숑네 티파로라 남토 양가 파마지바 고 데크 진숑도 바체네 마제바지 깨자히고레스.
And this not forgetting this is not something like, if somebody or your teacher or somebody else asks you what it is and you're able to explain that thing, that's not forgetting, but that's not what being talked about here. Talked about here, not forgetting is, able to maintain the continuity of that image, of that thing, whatever the object is, that the image or a sound or whatever, that to able to maintain the continuity of that thing is called here not forgetting.
아니 제주 som바데나 number 예위 레겐스 number 다 매우 예와메베 레겐 세디가솔레 고 미바 테사 딜리 옌도 주비키 고 미데이 유카야로 안기라 트로마로 와지.
And the third one is free from distraction, which means, your mind is not wavering from that object of meditation. You're always being on that object.
테치디가솔다 곰무스 짱우디가솔레 투비크 군다부치라 미바테 테비 온도 토나 덤비크 쿠테데 리보 차체네 테세보 차토아이바치. 테 마제바체네 고 진종니 데토데 네토바치. 테 네비키 토니 아니 델레 옌도 주비게 아니 미텐 옌토라 샘트로만도와 뭐 데게 체체 손다 데미게 토니 아니 고 미텐 텔라 샘숭아텔라 아니 고 찬체히네 라고라 데네 아니 고 찬체히네 검통데 당위이라고 데레스.
And so these are the threefold things you have to have if you are doing the meditation with the help of an object. So first you have to look at that object. For example, we're talking about here a picture, like, so look at the picture clearly, and then to be very familiar with that one. And second one is, not to forget that, which means able to maintain the continuity of that image in your mind continuously. And the third one is without distraction, the mind should be focusing on one pointedly on that picture and on that picture alone, not wavering from that.
Because to be Kunabachi, let me dance in Mibateni, send the day with the Casula. Choronkis. Que mi pate gudi kaso tumbi ke kuchasonchi rob samchi ko longa le shani tito le deto guduna tene dena ya degrees te mai ba ship char ton re ne chanda chata re chene ko mi te chena degrees yona tik to be ke chanda bo shanda bo chi heda bo tigla candida bo deto guduna tito le dena degrees.
So if you are having a picture of Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha as your object, you can either have his image, general image as your object of meditation, or one particular part of his body, like if you are just focusing on the eyes only, or his hands only, or his any part of the body. It's okay, whichever is easier for you, whether the whole body in general or any parts of the body in particular is okay.
Tapena ji shena buji la mi patini dedicaso de toro ron de to gumdana nchi sonji ke kule payo mando wana batni jebo jenne shenda shabda tene do bachina ya jebo jegi chena ya degrees.
So, and if you're focusing on the face of the Buddha, you and while you're maintaining that, but then you're not able to maintain it anymore, you can change that one, but not to go beyond the body of the Buddha. You can change it from face to his hands or to his head, or like that, but within his body.
Tati chi because gone to jego de ngaso mi de zum yawa ine chi ko mi den de ser do ada bichi tampo yores ina ya ane mi de zum ya yo mares mi de ma zum ne de ke chi pa jonda da bu de wa ine kale ane ko chi kwan da bu chaya de ne yungres.
And when you are doing this meditation, especially as a beginner, it may seems to be easier and more clear of the focal point if you close your eyes, but you try not to close your eyes, although in the beginning it may help like it much easier, better by closing your eyes. But if you open your eyes and try to do that, and soon it will be, same as closing your eyes.
Sam meeting la and the tembe tende chene cheba som the dembi ke temba te ke zune de gudi ane karsepure shejin ke chara chen shejin se ade karsena ane senla tache chenge ke shebaji semju ji la segore dike ane ko sem na to ke yo dogu doe dogu mindu ane ko tida tiusole ane tache chebaji.
So now, your mind, focusing on a particular object of meditation, and on that, you're placing your mind on that one. And with the help of your mindfulness, with these three qualities we just mentioned earlier, with these three qualities of mindfulness, try to maintain that thing. And with the help of introspection is that kind of a mental factors that analyze our mind, that always checks our mind, looking our mind whether that's on doing the thing it's supposed to do or not. So with these things, try to maintain that meditation.
Ko temba ta hiji ni bo teke tone ane gongwe gi de chongu de kasole miten la ane sente zungate ta hine ke ngo yungwa de ta tires.
The actual meditation of shamatha is focusing your mind one pointedly to one object, and with the help of mindfulness introspection, to continue that thing, the continuity, to maintain the continuity of that meditation. That is the actual shamatha meditation.
Tene ke sente jin tene ke thola miten de la negun de kasola ane 직 매전 제거 산다부터 가르쳤으나 샘데 미바데 싸보 용야 기타 데이터라 고 요만도와 네토바 살와도 템바니 용야라 내가 저 답이 단 거래서 담보 내 담보가 가서 내라고 요 말았어 이나야 가족게 가서 매전라고 슈라고 제사데 에용 용야라 지가서 그렇다 지게 매전라고 제사 때래서 살보 세디가 소소 미된 가래 임바데 살보 전에 저 샤토야 지다 아니 데스타보 장 샤와장 마이바 데이토라 아니 남도 연계 파트는 토만도와 윤종의 데이터야 어디니데 가족에다 메시지 봐야 되겠어.
The main thing you have to do while doing this meditation, while you're focusing on a particular object is, to have that object, to be very clear and very stable, although as a beginner, it's not easy for us to have that thing, but those are the two things that we really have to work hard to achieve. The thing is, the clarity means to have that object very clear in our mind, and stability means to able to have that meditation very stable without any obstacles or without any interruptions in between, to maintain that continuity.
따뜻이디가술래 가성 공원도 럽지 휘반나 이제네 시당 신에게 라 파르키 나보 게데 나요레스 데노니 신에 의이라 개정에 대 진화다 거반이 보더래서야 돼. 다들 살보 용야라 아니 진화되게 바르지 지고요레서 아니 템보 네발라 아니 거바되게 바지 지고요레서 대치디 가솔레 고 데데게 샘미텐라 존에 템베 준종데 가솔레 진화다 거반이 보대 융초조라고지 바르지 짬초조라고지 차대요레서.
So we mentioned about the 5 flaws yesterday, and the actual meditation, during the actual meditation, the flaws is the dullness and agitation. And these two, dullness and agitation, are waiting there just to, happen. It's very easy to come into our meditation. And this dullness, that hinders us to have a very clear, the clarity part, the obstacles of the clarity part is this dullness, and the obstacle to the stability of our meditation is the agitation, mental dullness and agitation. These two are the main obstacles.
미텐데 스테이블 줌 아토바 미텐게 사차테 쇼건디 람상 치만올레 템로버레스.
When you're not able to have your object very clearly, the clarity part is missing, then our meditation goes into the dullness. When we lose the stability, then it goes into the agitation part. And whether this dullness and agitation is seeping through or not in our meditation is the job of introspection. That's to look for whether these two are coming or not. So when this dullness comes into your meditation, your introspection should find out right away that this dullness is coming up, and then you should freshen up your mind, and get out of that dullness. In the same way, when this mental agitation is coming also, this introspection, that should catch it right away that it's in the state of agitation, and bring back the mind into the stability part of that meditation.
Each lombo londo, mipi kawa tembola, tembi tapping it in Sharapjachi, Ramoncha sene, and a paygoni, and a pedan jarik tone, and a kisun yores, take lowly chatable yores.
So in the actual meditation of shamatha, it's very important first to have this object of meditation, and our mind should be focused one pointedly to that object of meditation. And with the help of the mindfulness and introspection, this always, look into this meditation, this mind, whether this is wavering away from that meditation or not. This is the very important in the actual part of the meditation. And then one of the Indian master has very clearly mentioned here with the help of an example, an analogy to help us to get this point much easier.
Each lombo londo was the castle, Mazoka Sam, Namtoki, yo ding, Sam Marua de, and the long chain batabo.
And here he mentions that our mind is analogous to the mad elephant. It's just like a mad elephant.
Tindaboke Sam Namtoki, yo de, and the Marumba long chain batabo de, and mipi kawa tembolas and mipi kawa, mite. Kawa tabo, tembo se di casole, and it conde Havana in Comdi Yopo, Chetsason Yok, Miten Telegila, and it Yago race, Colombo in Yambate, Kawal Tawa Nagicini, Matok Sam, Maru and Yamba, Nantokuyo Dengi, Lombo Tabote, and it could meet Telapa, then Yago race.
And the object of meditation is analogous to a pillar, So, with the pillar, you can tie this wild elephant, mad elephant to this pillar. In the same way, our mind, is, should be directed one pointedly toward that object of meditation. So this object of meditation is like the pillar.
That Candice Yago is an tempi tape tamkinis because then they get temper chiches from there. Take a majiba jene, cause Sam de tele, miten tele, yo majiba jene, titola teni, ko de debate, Nico Lompoche, Nekawala tabak tawana yicine, ane Sam Nampokuyo dengete, miten conscience deep miten tempo tela, and the temba take a jinjone, majiba jene, netwache gores.
And the thing that you tie the elephant, that mad elephant, to the pillar, you need a rope. So that rope is like the mindfulness, with the help of your mindfulness, your mind is directed one pointedly to that object of your meditation. In the same way here, the wild elephant, that mad elephant, you tie that mad elephant to that pillar with the help of a rope, the rope of mindfulness. And that mindfulness, as mentioned earlier, should be the threefold mindfulness, three meaning present within it.
Then this in the Jinjong the Devu de Casula, and Sharap Jaji Rema Chasi de Casota, Shiji Lons double take, Lons Chachos on Deva double take, and then call Tita Tisotaji Chene, Jin do not Chimale Yasan, and the Godo do not Gapale Tsuk Kuchune, Kuchene, and the Jinjone Deva. When not long chain about Kawala Taya de Casula, and the Chachos ke loans take, ko chik shodo with not so zunya that got Dojon Chewa Nagicene. Ni Shi could do that to Sola, Tajicene, and Chingani non Mashova, and the Sawa the Temani Tola, and the Jinshonate. Takoshine gone and make it that is.
And the trainer of that elephant is like the introspection. That introspection is always checking whether our meditation is in the right path or not. If any of the dullness or the agitation is coming through or not, this is the help of this introspection. It helps us. In the same way, the trainer is there, whether that elephant is there as per he's being trained or there or not, that trainer is there looking for that elephant. In the same way, our introspection should work like the trainer to check whether our mind is going into the dullness or agitation part.
생미발레 초무로와 제아데 제다 희이데게 초와데 라트 시비게 토네 텔레용샤츠 구야 오다 템바데 희이니게 아니 미탱게 토라 센데 야투가 제 야구거스.
So the job of the mindfulness is not to waver, not to distract our mind away from our object of meditation. And the job of introspection is, if it wavers, if it goes away from our object, then that the introspection should right away know that it's being going away from our meditation, and helps to bring back the mind to its focal point.
데이키 토니 미덴데 안 살보다 미덴도 돌아 템포지는 네토바 사데니라다 나조게 매잔치야 돼. 아니 계셔모레스.
And on top of that, it's important for us to work hard to have that the object very clear and very stable, clarity and stability to work on. We have to,
뭐야? 어때 지디가서래? 다 딘데티 용야티. 아니 레 동픽 가서래 레하고 요마레스. 대치디 가서 나서 가디에나야 레 동포바 검쟁에 대조게. 아니 뒤쳐 퉁퉁 레마 몽포. 베나 까마직 까마니 까마솜. 데레레 검제. 야 졸레레체네. 까마진 솜레 베소자. 야 까마니 솜세 검제. 더요 저 데레체네. 레몬라 아니 뒤투와 데레체네 정도 두고와 계시거레스.
And it's not easy for us to have this meditation, especially as a beginner. So that's why it says that for a beginner, it's very important to have the sessions very short, but multiple sessions. So you can have it like for 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, but you should, and then take a break and then have another session, like, multiple sessions, but the very short sessions.
데레 마제바치네 까마쭈 쩡아 니슈 주주 체가 데레 검제 이세 주주 데데바이나 주보드 주주 데는 나 검제디어 산데마도 셈바데 고 쇼차르스 미테 돌레 네투야 마레스.
Otherwise, if you do it like for 10 minutes or 50 minutes session, although you say that you are doing the Shamatha meditation, your body might be straightened up and sitting there, but your mind has already gone somewhere else.
지디가솔라 셈테 나조 검제 야다 하덴도 히네 검바세야데 셈도 좀 제야 그게 히거레 셈도 좀 제야 그게 히디가솔라 때 따다글 미땡글라 아니 고츠네 토야게 레가데 지금에나 하나 조보주주 데마델라 데네덥지레스.
When we do the meditation, especially during this Shamatha meditation, we are really training our mind. So if we are not having our mind at our focus or our object of meditation, then even if our body is straightened up and sitting there, it's not much use, because mainly it's for our mind to get trained, during this meditation.
대지데가솔라 저런 신내 검대여 신내래 냥내 몬트니 첸데여 바이나 동보 미텐텐데 템포지 세거야 지다 아니 미텐데 이토라 야구디 템바다 시기니 기토네 같이 이나야 아니 고 체다 템바지 유야라 메선치야 나가 검제거여서 주주 제대로 지 돈이 후마레스다 신내 검자세야 돼서데 양 아주 간대 제한다보다 차 제한다보다 꼬라 제한다보다 되게 개와서다 제단테서다 양다고 말해서 깔리 카요레스.
So if you want to start Shamatha meditation, first you find an object of meditation, And then with the help of the mindfulness introspection, you try to maintain the continuity of that meditation. It's not easy compared to doing the prostrations and doing some of the recitation, the supplication prayers. Those, it's not as easy as those things. This shamatha meditation is much more difficult compared to those.
대체도 저런 거 동복 담박 고다부지 체체나 텔레미덴 치바이나 아니 가선도노 가르스무스나 꿀리탄 세첸돈달란 기텐고 먹군라tun제 미반데라 콘크 생규바 총추 세마텐 냥냥이 세우디 아니 곧 담박 고 세컨도다와틴데 예텐 탄지 건도 추바테다 복텔라 미바텐데 텔레 센순소아이나 따티고 장추 세마텐 냥냥을 니바 차그여레 세우디 아니 고 미세게 아니 히네 장마이바 손제 제스 템바 차그여레라 아니 마음바소소 시가 지역에 채나야 산지 대야라 레라고 용구여레 대나게 전에 네 나 손제 양내야도 템비케 소나메야 추무보 산도여레스 어떤데게 돈에 직 손제 그 구주다버지 미텐체네 대다야 본 디바체네 데이토라 아니 조나야 보여레스.
So it's important to train this meditation, especially for an object of meditation, to have a statue or a picture of a Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, it is said in the sutra that whoever placed the mind one-pointedly to the body of the Buddha, which is like a golden color body of the Buddha, without any kind of distraction, that person is said to be in the meditation equipoise. So in that way, if you do it that way, it's not only that you are doing the shamatha meditation, but you're also doing the recollection of the Buddha, and this also helps you during the time of your death to easily remember the Buddha. So in that way, by recollecting the Buddha, by thinking about the Buddha, it also helps you to accumulate the merit.
다들에게 토네 가서오래 당아족 신의 검사야 돼. 뭐다 되지 토라. 네 신의 검사야 차고래서 대치디 것을 가데나야 고 신의 검이 선에 주주대 양자 진리가 말해. 그 자전다보다 내통 되지 하고 있던 되지라 라네 태별한 배전체고 그랬어.
So, and this is how you do the shamatha meditation, when you're doing, just sitting there, your body up in the meditation posture and sitting that way doesn't really make you meditating on this shamatha meditation.
들이 아주 된점등에 직제 냥에다 신에 놓으라 아니 신의 검이 있으네 뭐 되죠 뭐 동창에 유지해서 같이 신의 땅이 고만용에 유지해서 간대이나야 고 고만용에 되죠 그게 고만야 이나야 자신 된데도 없지 좀야라 배전 제고 그래서 단다봐도 고만용에 되죠 이나야 자신 된데 총도도 민두다네 아니 고 심주 제거야지 그래서 같이 된데 자신 되죠 총금매나 아니 신의 그 토니 샘도종 토비아데 카보레스.
Among the listeners here today, some of you might have been doing this shamatha meditation for some time, while some of you may be totally new to this shamatha meditation. If you are new, so you should start it doing as per I mentioned earlier, and through these steps, you should try to do this shamatha meditation. And if you're already doing this shamatha meditation, then check yourself, analyze yourself, whether you are doing it in the right way or not. So if you are not doing it in the right way, then it's hard to really, overcome or really train this mind with the faulty way,
그때 저리 가서래 아니 나저게 가서부터 신에대 고 류마기 내가 돈 나그 마틱 샘플랭가 인자 네 레하부지 천이요 말했어.
And this shamatha meditation is much more difficult because it has to be done through our mind, unlike the other physical and verbal things we've been doing. This is much more difficult.
뒤통라 유모아 윤통라 뒤모아 제가 그 정도 되는 아주 그 차다부 차디나 사와이나 차자 닌자 숨자다부 텐데 그소서 들이 제대나 차토야나 그 용그레스 아니 냐바다부 사와이나 그 티고모 버치 들이 제대나 용그레스 셈라 그 정도 되는지 말레스.
So that's why this has to be done through our mind, mainly through our mind. So it's mentioned that for a beginner, you should do it, very short period of time, but should have a multiple sessions with short period of time each ones. That way you're able to focus our mind, better. Unlike doing the physical and verbal, like if you are doing the prostrations, then you may be able to do it, 100 prostration, 200, 300, if you, still work hard, you may be able to stretch that, another 100 or so, like that. And same way, if you are doing some kind of recitation, that mantra, you may have doing it 10,000, 20,000 times. And if you still strive hard, you may be able to do it still some more. But unlike those verbal and physical practice, this mental practice, is more difficult. So it should be done a shorter session and with the multiple session and shorter session each time.
뒤치디가 슬랭아 저게 신내대 연락 단다 콘데 해봤나 연락 총이 돈이 신내대 야포지 가 저게 검네 아니 신내게 세다 대바지 용아이나 아니 나저게 교가대서 놓는다 손제게 노단 단다 지대대서 놓라 그 녀바다 보이나 사자나고 닌자나고 똥라고 되는다나 조금으로 내려 터요는 좀 도망근으로 내려 터고서 근데 히제바나이 그 유튜브에서 이나 단단 가족에 빼나 지 교가나고 되는 노나 니차잔다바 있는 저런에 조금 내려 터고 도망근으로 내려 터고 그래서 내게 연아야 자드 마체는 똥봄치 같이 쏴야와이나 되게 좀 도망으로 터면도야 돼 근데 가족 샘바든도 좀 맡은 희내메비기 아니 그 잔데 차도요레스 티치디 희내되어나 아주 가래이나 일하고 인터넷 차용하요레스.
If you train this Shamatha meditation with all the preliminaries and the things that mentioned above and able to perfect this Shamatha meditation, then, in those sadhanas, or in the sutras and tantras where it mentioned that if you do these sadhanas, 100 times, or if you recite this mantra 100 times, you should be able to receive such and such common attainments or the uncommon attainments. But generally, even if we recite that not just 100,000 times, even 100,000 million times, we really don't see any kind of result. That is because we are lacking this Shamatha meditation, one-pointed Shamatha meditation. Now, if you have this one, perfected these things, then we should be able to receive those siddhis, the result of those, reciting the sadhana or the mantra, as mentioned in those texts.
근데 그 공도 해봤나 이제는 미된다, tem바다 시긴다, 정통다, 근데 진거 놀만 팀바 근데 지네 고 류다 샘케 내통대서대 연락대서 차송진로 체다 담바 마이나 아니 지 검제인선의 이런 버지를 조조 제대나 마데나 네 로자이 고 매장도 제대와 있나야 네 고 샘도 종크토네 기내 영다바 좀 루투금해봐 디디디 가서래 기내 강 두바데 냠내 제바데 So that's
why it says that, it's very important to do it as per the instructions, and that way you're able to achieve the completion of the Shamatha meditation. Otherwise, if you don't follow those things from the preliminary of the physical and the mental preparations, and then to the actual practice, where you focus your mind one-pointedly to an object, and with the help of the mindfulness introspection to maintain that meditation, to maintain that meditation without having any dullness and stability, So if you do that way, then only you're able to do that. If you don't have these things, according to then even if you strive for hundreds of years, you may not be able to perfect this meditation. You may not be able to train this mind.
다 드네 그 돈에 다 드리 뒤져 줘서 드네 지야지. 드네 휴마자 뱀바다 니마랑 가서 문튀니. 아니 저쪽 돌아 힙차로다. 아니 카세로 땅에. 안데 휴야 드네 지이스. 드린 당아서 시네데 검바체발라. 만도 그rem바다고 다디다고 칸데체고래. 아니 ngö기데. 아니 칸데스네 진종 거사게. 아니 기계자데 자반지 그 로열스.
So I will stop the session for today here, and next Saturday and Sunday we have 2 more sessions, and I will go more detail in the actual doing the meditation in the next 2 sessions. Today, I went through the preliminaries of the Shamatha meditation, and then in the actual meditation, how to maintain the continuity of that meditation.
드네 가정 랑아 저겠지 안 초체게 돈이네 다 계juk 돈이네 다 that's 다바 카망가나 버데 냥게 그노네 이야사레스니 간지 아니 가족게 마음발을 문티네 아니 텐젠테 저 야르야르 돈이 베체 제안도 버데 이스 아니 정말라 공다시 이스
So yesterday, understand that some of the listeners were not able to hear properly, maybe due to the technology or due to some things, whatever the problem is, So I apologize for that thing. And going forward, we hope to have, better hearing for all the listeners,
다 간지 나로게 간 시바데 문티네 아니 리메레메 가족게 마음발라 아니 지 제나발파 가서부터지 인직돈 쉐어더버 제토야게 매전 책임스
and I will try to share whatever I know in the future times.
다들이 되는지 야는 저와도 얘는 진이 담으시스
And I will stop today's session here, and if you have any questions, you may ask it now.
Thank you, Khenpo Sonam Rinpoche. If anyone would like to ask any questions, can they please turn their camera on or raise their hand in the Zoom raise hand option? Khenpo Sonam Rinpoche, there is one question here by Lian. Lian, would you like to turn your camera on and ask your question?
Hello, Khenpo Sonam. What can one do if one is in meditation and one becomes aware that one's mind is either dull or
Αν κάποιος είναι σε αδελισμό και καταλάβει ότι ο νους
What
είναι
can one
αμπλής
do
ή
to,
ταραγμένος, τι μπορεί κανείς να κάνει για να μπορεί να το διορθώσει αυτό?
I think you are in the main channel, I think the Greek translation.
So sorry.
You are in the main channel.
Should I ask again?
No, it's okay now. I think she's
Okay.
지바들라야 아니 검자베 가서라 칭워도 고반이 레바 하고스나 아니 가르쳐 그랬어. 다들 야 텐탑 되니 터미네이터 검 이야기 당도 못은 이야기 줘야라 가르쳐 그랬어.
야 다때 저 그런 바때 시베 림베다 손이 논이 되돌아 예마게서 빼면이 말 쉬어야 차기지 인나야 다 지와 레기도나 지와서 다만 톰로야 니단 다보다보 지니 마 톰로야 미바스다보메야 카운도 깨져 히거스 딜야 세야게 제돌아 아니 고 미바세로톤 딜라고 베전 로 담르톤야다 된 대장게 마토나야 되니 고야 상상치야도 대장지 마토나야 니야라니 치로란도야다 보다 니고 고게 운데서 파체네 루마다 원래피야다 보다 다 되네지네 다 리바데 초 당보다 서브줘야 돼 제고레스
Actually, I plan to talk about this in the next sessions, but since you have asked this now, so I'll just briefly explain that, if the dullness enters into your meditation, dullness is, similar to the sleeping, you become very dull and you're falling asleep. If that happens, you should try to freshen up yourself, you can also get up and get fresh air, or just open the windows and doors and to let the fresh air come through, and in that way you can freshen up and to have your mind more freshened, without not being falling to sleep.
Gaba de Lepsona, and the Miba Lepsone, go Miba Yamati Shordea Tele, go Shomakubachin, Miten Leon Shayon, Tsukuya Teres.
And agitation comes through, which means, you are going away from your intended object, your meditation. If that happens, then you bring your mind back to that object of your meditation.
Thank you. Is anyone else there that would like to ask any question?
Sunday.
No questions?
Kempola, there's a question by Christine AM. Maybe the 10 minutes is too long.
Kamachu sessions in it Mangtagayonas.
Should I ask my question? I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, please do.
Hello,
Tachidala.
Tachida. Good to you. It's 10 minutes. I've been meditating for a while, but is 10 minutes too long?
Gom Gyan Tizagaro Shingsons. The Kamachu, Gom Gyanat Mangtagayana Kandanas.
For each session, I mean.
Chudinchikla.
That is also que Shinake Nyamlen that the Choncha Yumela Tires. Kati Siba Choron Kamachu Jabikasole, Chimata Gopanola, Shomandova, go Standa Konto Heba Naich in the Kana Kansan in Rotuana, and the Rinta Kayo Maras, go Chancha Tepsona, Chuji Ni Song Ye, go Hining and Rusona, and then Dintra, then they go Detoya today. Chanto wears stitched the castle Rinta Kayo Maras, they go Rintum Sevate, go late Tompo by Iminda, Hinela Choncha, you make it on the Tagdagich and Royal Ramato, Pigeon did it go over Senate, Chilaya Mars, Conzo Soso Latin Tires.
It actually depends upon you. There isn't any absolute number or absolute time period there. It's relative, It depends on the individual how good your shamatha meditation is. When you do your meditation, and if the dullness and agitation doesn't come through, and if your meditation is very good at focusing your mind at that object, then you can maintain it whatever time duration of the time, whether that be 10 minutes or 1 hour or 2 hours, it doesn't matter. There isn't any time limit for that one. For a person who has perfected this shamatha meditation, that person can even stay in a meditation for weeks and weeks for one session.
Thank you, Kempola.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
that's a day.
That's just Markima.
Yeah, that's a minute, isn't it?
So if there's no questions, so we will recite the dedication prayer then.
Sonam de Tanje Sepani, Tane ni Bedana Pamje Shin, Shega Nanje Walom Trupai, Sibin Solen Doa Doa Shu, Rinjan Getson the Endoaki, Tado Tambi Judan Mendashi, Royan Daniel Zoban Tajine. Chunga doben jiten zebro yo. Nikado. Chuzon de ya nindi chinko yi. Chochen tado kanto tacho de. Lode bemora to jeje ji. Sonje temba da yin jebro. Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Khenpo Sonam Rinpoche.
Thank you.
Just a reminder that next Wednesday is Sagadawa Duchen Day, and there will be a practice accumulation of the Heart Sutra and a Treasury of Blessings practice. And for any information on any events, you can check the website www.palyudvancouver.org. Thank you, Khenchen Rinpoche. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kuchi-che.